Traditionally, estate cars, or station wagons as Americans call them, were the cars that were bought for people who really wanted to be sensible. They were a conservative, deeply practical vehicle. But there was a manufacturer that decided to suddenly make estate cars sporty and therefore cool. And they were Swedish. And it happened in the 1990s. And the car in question went on to become a pretty legendary vehicle around a racetrack, which we weren't expecting at all. The car I'm about to see today, in the subject of this video, is actually not in the barn that I'm stood in. It's just outside the barn door down there, and unfortunately it's looking rather sorry for itself. But make no mistake, I had to come and see this and tell the story, because this car was an absolute legend when it came out in the 90s. It was turbo, it was quick, and the police consequently really adored them. I'm Jonny Smith. You're watching a barn find edition of the Late Break Show, despite the fact it's outside, not in the barn. And this episode is proudly supported by Nielsen Car Care Products. So John, first of all, I need to say, I remember vividly when these came out, and I remember this colour.
Yep.
I remember how radical it was compared to previous Volvos of old. And what a thing. And clearly there's a connection for you with this, because you said you grew up around them.
Yeah, so my dad was a Volvo man. He had a 740, and before that he had a 240.
Yeah.
And I remember the day we went to pick up his new car, new second-hand. It was a year-old 850 T5 in red. I don't know what the proper paint colour is.
Yeah.
And it was like a rocket ship. It was just the coolest thing a very impressionable young boy had ever seen. He was already quite mechanically minded.
Yeah.
He never had a T5R, but he had a T5, and that was in the very early days of the 850 when they were racing them in touring car, which they did for the very first year Volvo came back.
Yeah, yeah. Which is what this car was about.
Yeah, so as I understand it, the T5R was used as a sort of press tool to go alongside the touring car championship to kind of say, look, Volvo is here, we mean business.
Yeah.
And these things really do mean business. So yeah, they're deceptively quick.
They were deceptively quick, and a favourite of the police, right?
Mm-hmm. That's the
police.
one.
They were certainly in the UK anyway. What's the story with this car? Because this isn't your dad's red T5.
Correct. So he had a series of cars after that. He went on to a V70, a lovely R, all-wheel drive, which was a wonderful thing.
Yeah.
And then went on to another car, which we'll hopefully get to talk about in a bit, which is tucked away elsewhere here. But the 850 left a strong impression, and I've had a string of them. I saved a couple from the scrapyard, and I've always loved them. And I had a few T5s.
Yeah.
And I always wanted a T5R. It was always that sort of pin-up car.
Yeah.
And eventually I found this one for sale in Dover, of all places. And I rang the guy and asked him what he wanted for it. I had a bit of an idea of what I had as a budget in mind, and we were quite far apart, so I didn't actually make an offer. I didn't want to insult him. And I told him this, and he said, yeah, fair enough, what's your budget? And I said, well, this is what I've got, but don't take that as an offer, because I don't want to kind of upset you.
Yeah.
And he said, well, I'll keep it in mind, and I thought no more about it.
Yeah.
Turns out he found somebody who wanted to buy it, they messed him around, and about, probably 6 weeks later, I got a phone call out of the blue, and he said, do you still want the Volvo? You can have it for your budget.
Wow.
So I scrabbled around. I had spent a bit of that money on the Golf I had at the time, and I rang my dad, and he said, you've got to have it. We've got to make this happen. So he lent me a bit of money to get the car.
Yeah.
Because he loved the T5. He always wanted one. I had the chance to buy this car back in, that would have been 2015.
Yeah. And
I had it on the road for a couple of years. We actually used this car as my wedding car, which is a bit shameful given the condition it's in, but there is sort of a reason for that. And it was in really rather fine fettle.
Yeah.
We did a lot to it. We did a cam belt to it. We did brakes on it, various other things. Used it for the wedding. And then a couple of years went by. It got parked in the garage for a little bit. And then it ended up at my father's house during COVID. And we couldn't be part of his bubble because he had carers and various other things. And so the car was left outside for, best part of 4 years.
Was it? Which
is how it ends up looking like this. So in theory, mechanically, it's not bad. It was getting to the point of needing some restoration work.
Yeah.
Because she's a bit leggy. She's done 226,000 miles, I think.
Did you get to spend much time with your dad with this car?
Sadly, not as much as I would have liked. So we did go out in the car, but by the time I'd kind of got it, he wasn't really in rude enough health to drive anymore.
Yeah.
So he never got to drive it, which is pretty sad.
Yeah.
But that connection with him and him wanting to own it, and actually you probably noticed there's a little Mini Champs Volvo 850 here, which is one of my prized possessions. So when he got the 850,
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure the dealer gave him tickets to go to watch the touring car, and he took us to Donington Park, which is ironically now not far away from where we live here.
Yeah.
And we went to watch them racing the Volvos at Donington Park, and he bought me this little model, and I've been obsessed ever since. So this is my prized possession, the Volvo 850 touring car.
BTCC 1994.
Yeah, good old Jan Lammers car. To the point where we've done lads trips to Le Mans, and we've made replica BTCC Volvos, because why not? When they were a £500 car.
Well, I'm pretty sure this single-handedly made estate cars cool.
Absolutely.
So the cabin of your Gull T5R, I forgot actually one thing that was always amazing about these was that sort of half suede or Alcantara, half leather.
Yeah, it's an interesting mix, and also the most comfortable seats.
Yeah.
These I don't think there's a more comfortable seat than these.
No. I've never seen a wood-rim steering wheel on one of these.
So yeah, these are a factory upgrade. I hunted for a long time to find one of those. But yeah, it's very tactile. It's a lovely thing. And amazingly, it's not cracked or perished in the time it's been sat outside.
No, it's cool.
It's, it's a lovely thing to use.
So this is an auto. Most of them, from what I remember, were autos. Is that right?
Yeah, the manuals hold a premium because they're quite rare.
Yeah. And you said to me this is a 7-seater.
Yeah. Yes. So it's got the seats that flip out under the boot floor. So it's quick and a load lugger.
That's the versatility of this thing. That's why I love these cars so much. Well, the weather's being interesting again, but we want to have a good look in the boot. Blibbin' heck, John, you've got a bit of everything in here.
There is, all sorts.
So how many broken cars are in here?
3, maybe?
3.
Yeah, something like that.
And what, you as an owner of multiple T5s, what are the sort of parts that are unobtainium?
So lots of trim bits tend to be, so you'll see there's all sorts of trim. They're starting to get a little bit fragile now.
Yeah, brittle plastics.
And bits that get lost, like around the bottom of the seat runners and stuff like that.
Yeah.
These are notorious. The motors for the fans, they squeal like nobody's business.
Do they?
Yeah. Every one I've had, it squeals. Usually when you're turning right, and it leans to the left, the car slightly, they start to squeal. And these all like to fade the rear lights, so you'll see a few pairs of those.
My dad's, he used to polish them all the time with smoker's toothpaste.
There's an interesting subtlety as well. So the V70s had clear lenses, and the 850s had gingicators. So I've got a few pairs of each.
Man, I love these.
So I think, I can't remember what these are.
Modern when they came out in the early 90s, that whole D-pillar being illuminated. Was it the 850R which had the R in the alloy?
It was the late, I think it was the S60s had the R in it. It was a bigger wheel as well. So these are what, 15?
205, 45, 17.
So I think they were maybe an 18 or even a 19.
Yeah, yeah. So simple, but such a great design. And in a graphite gunmetal-y grey.
There you go. And then
I don't get bored
now
of
I think
this.
we probably have to move the dog guard for it to work properly. But
because that clicks back, does it?
But it looks like the little struts on that have gone. But effectively, that's your rear-facing 7 seats.
Now, ordinarily on barn finds, I obviously have to uncover the car, and I just looked at its condition. I basically felt sorry for it, and I thought we've got to go and come along, give it a clean, see if she'll fire up. What I would say, although it looks gloriously sunny and the birds are singing here, we've had a thundercloud that came over about half an hour ago. It's really moody and unpredictable. If it is, we might ironically push it into the barn to continue this barn find
Make
video.
it a barn find.
But I will make it clear, this is a driveway find, but what a cool car. I think we should see if it runs. That's the next thing, I think.
Absolutely.
Right, so
The money shot.
there we go.
Volvo's 2.5 or 2.3, I think it is in this.
That's right.
5-cylinder.
Yeah. I love that. I always loved this with a huge filler cap and a big 20 valve embossed thing there. Where is the turbo then in
So
these?
turbo's hiding right down the back of there, hence the boost pipe that comes over the top.
Yes. Like a big swan neck.
And then it's got this huge brace at the top there for the top of the engine, and then obviously factory upgrade
Strut brace.
There's a great picture of this. I had two 850s for my wedding. I had a Volvo 850 and I had a Fiat 850. Oh. And there's a picture of them nose to nose.
That's so cool.
So yeah, there's some great photos. So at that point, it was really very clean. So most of this detritus is really from it being just parked up for a number of years.
Yeah. Do you have any reason to doubt that this won't run?
I mean, it ran when parked, if you will.
Yeah.
I don't see. I mean, the fuel might be a bit nasty.
Yeah.
Because it's probably 5 years old.
Yeah.
But as long as it'll run on that fuel, I mean, nothing's really been taken apart on it, so there's no reason why it wouldn't go.
Yeah.
It's Swedish, so I like to believe it's indestructible.
Robust. I've got a friend who has got one of these and does dry ice blasting. And if you've watched a video I did a couple of years ago now where I had my Tokyo Taxi Nissan Cedric dry ice blasted, it's a fantastic process. I've actually let him know that we're doing this today, and I thought to myself, wouldn't it be great if we did the engine bay? He can, hopefully if we get it running, we can also give that a really nice blast in here, and then I'll do the cleaning on the outside here.
That'd be wicked.
Sound cool?
We might need to find a battery first though.
We do. Talking of Scandinavian design, can we put it in the bonnet in the special service mode?
Yeah, watch your fingers.
Yeah,
to pull that little tab down there.
So which one is it, that?
No, so it's on the outside. There's a little tab. If you pull that, you might need to move the bonnet down slightly to release the pressure on it. And that, it should push down towards the back of the hinge.
Yes.
Keep pushing.
Yeah.
And then it should go all the way up.
This does remind me of my old Mercedes. It's vertical service mode, full bonnet erection, so that you don't get any kind of head issues when the number of times I twatted my head on the Mercedes.
Much like
grill.
a Mercedes, it's got the grille attached to the bonnet.
Yeah.
So you need it out of the way. Right.
The sun is still here. It's almost as bright.
Fingers crossed it stays.
As the yellow on the Volvo. So yeah, you go and get the 944 battery.
Yeah.
I'll check the fluids. Make sure it's okay, and we'll see if we get dash lights and stuff when we hook it up.
Right, this way.
Such is the way of British summer-ish. In the time it took you to walk from there to there, this black acme cloud came over. It dumped rain all over us. He's got a coat on now.
Yep.
The engine bay's wet, the car's wet, the floor's wet. So that's what happened. So we've just taken 10 minutes out, had a brew, had a quick nibble on some biscuits, and now we're ready to see if we can fire the car up. I've checked the oil and it looks excellent. In fact, it looks really new to the point where I suspect you serviced it.
It's not long since the oil was changed, yeah.
Which is good, really good. Coolant's really good. So I'm satisfied that we don't need to do what I'd usually do on a barn find when a car's sat for decades, which is, plugs out and all that kind of, and spray oil down the bores. I don't think we're in that territory, and you agree, right?
Hopefully. We'll soon find out.
So if we get the battery on it, and you can please dine out on the ingenuity of this battery clip.
The Volvo battery clip. So on a normal car, you have to faff around with a clip that holds the battery in, normally with a 10 or 13 mil. In this, you slide it to one side.
Yeah.
Don't trap the terminal like I've just done. And then there's a little piece of plastic that just goes on. It's got slots in the side of the battery tray, which is also plastic so it doesn't rot, and that's it. Battery's in. No tools required.
And there's no stupid spindly metal frame that goes over the... Why doesn't every car manufacturer do that? So come on then, I want to hear this start, and I want to be as aroused as this bonnet in service mode.
He's hoping it's not tappety.
I can't wait to hear it, because I haven't heard the 5-cylinder Volvo warble in a while.
There we go.
Lights.
Ooh, radio's alive.
I'm getting clicking.
You ready?
Yeah.
That's far too easy.
Seriously?
Although, It is telling me it needs a service. No Sherlock.
That is zero drama. Zero drama.
It's a bit ticky.
A little bit, but
Top end is a bit noisy.
it's stone cold, so that's
Yeah,
really not.
normally you don't get that tappet noise, but the hydraulic tappets on these,
Might be a bit lazy.
maybe, yeah.
Flipping heck, it just fired up like you drove it yesterday.
I mean, I let the fuel pump prime a little bit, but
Yeah. So the reason why you've not done anything with it, because I know you said you're quite ashamed of the condition that it's in.
it mainly because when I do it, I want to do it right.
Yeah.
So I don't want to bit and bob it.
Yeah.
And I mean, apparently it doesn't need an awful lot doing under here.
Yeah.
Although I suspect cam belt and various other things are ready for changing.
Is that supposed to be loose?
Yeah, the little tensioner.
Oh, it's
they
idler
rattle
thing.
around. You need a special tool for that because it sits so close to the chassis rail here. They're an absolute pig, but they do rattle around like that.
Yeah. This is the first time I've been on a barn find shoot and I haven't got one tool out of the car yet. Not even a jump pack.
Yeah.
This pleases me.
Well, we needed a 10mm for doing up the battery terminals.
Yeah.
That was about it.
There's something really hypnotic about the 5-cylinder, the inline 5. Audi's obviously synonymous with the early Quattros and that real warble, but these had an incredible warble to them as well, which made them obviously popular in touring car. But I mean, when I first passed my driving test in '96, these were current police cars then. I did actually get pulled over by an 850 T5. And if you know you're being followed by a police 850 T5, you don't really try. You just give in. I just feel sorry for this one in its slightly algal
Yeah.
state.
They age better when they've been cleaned.
Yeah, in fact, now that we know that this is good, I'm gonna get Tom from the Blast Smith with his dry ice kit, who's just turned up actually. I'm gonna get him on the case in the engine bay, and then I can crack on with the rest of the body. You've done a hell of a job on this. I mean, this didn't take that long, actually. I was really surprised. I mean, it's come up brilliantly well. You said to me before this, originally when you started doing this for a job, you thought that it was only going to be on immaculate cars that needed to be taken to the next level of sort of concours. But you're saying that people are now getting stuff blasted before they recommission or restore, so you can almost see what you're dealing with.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm finding now a lot that people are saying, I've got a car, and my plan is to restore it. My plan is to dismantle it, restore it, nut and bolt, but I want to see what I've got first.
Yes.
And more so with the chassis, but again with engine base, things like that, a lot of people will say to me, it's leaking.
Yeah.
Can you come and clean it? Then I can establish where it's leaking from.
It's a very, very valid point.
And at least then they've got a blank canvas to start with.
Completely.
And whenever they're doing, like this one now, it's not going to take a lot, but whatever it does take to get it back to where John wants it, he can do it when he's not up to his elbows in grease,
No, it's great. And I know you were looking at saying how good and original it is, and even right down there on the chassis rails, they've come up all nice and bright.
Yeah.
All these indentations on the castings of the aluminium here. It just looks like it's been vapor blasted, and you can only do stuff like that when the engine's dismantled. But what I love about this is it doesn't intervene. You can go over rubbers, plastics.
Yeah, that's it. Thing with these cars, I say, is I've owned 3 myself. So with this, with the cam cover on this, is actually the cam cover.
Yeah.
So it's one of those bugbears where people say, oh, you know, it's really letting the look of the engine bay down. And to remove it, you've got to essentially relieve it. I think there's 42 bolts holding it down, I think. And you've got to use special tooling that goes down into the spark plug wells to lift it gently off. And of course, it involves removing, breaking the camshafts loose, essentially.
Bloody hell. So not worth it at all.
So most people don't want to go down that route, really, especially on these. It's quite unique to these, I believe. There may be others out there that are the same, but it's a nicely maintained car, this, anyway.
Because you've had a yellow T5.
Yeah, I've had a black 850R wagon. I've had a yellow Gull wagon. That was a Japanese import. And I'm now on my third, which is just a T5 estate, a silver T5 estate.
That's so cool.
Yeah. Yeah. Every time I sell one, I just think, oh no, I really need another one now.
And he was saying, right, as a man who owns a Skyline GTR with an RB26,
Yeah.
you were saying you still think this engine, the sound of this engine is even better. On hard chat.
I do think so. I love the sound of these engines.
They
I have to say, yeah.
They're phenomenal. And I'm really impressed that you've managed to blast it and kept the bad weather away. I'm so pleased about that. And thanks for coming at quite short notice to do this.
Mate, no problem.
Right, I've got to get my pressure washer out, which is not as sexy as an ice blast gun, it must be said. But I can't wait. I can't wait to see if I can make it a little bit less algae-fied.
But just as I was getting my car cleaning kit out, the heavens opened again. So we thought it was the perfect opportunity to take a rain check and have a look in the garage at John's other cars.
I've got massive garage envy. Because this is really nice.
It is cool.
The 3 doors, the lift. It's 2 lifts.
Two
Goodness.
lifts, yeah. It's been a work in progress. This is a year's worth of tinkering and planning and getting it all just so.
So while the weather's being evil, I wanted to just have a nose around your other cars. So tell me about the Turbo R Bentley then.
So this was my dad's car.
Yeah.
He's had it for years. Obviously came to me when we sadly lost him a couple of years ago. He was notorious for having a lead right foot, so he always wanted something quick, and this is certainly quick. So it's a Turbo R. So it's a very small 6.75 litre V8 with a dustbin lid sized turbo on it.
Yeah.
And yeah, it was his pride and joy. He didn't get to use it all that much, but it certainly looked the part. It was very much him.
So what year is this?
So this is, I think it's a 96, because it's got a private plate on. I can't remember exactly, but yeah, I think it's a 95 or a 96.
Yeah.
I think it's a 95 built, and it was registered on my dad's birthday. He didn't have it new, but he found one that was registered on his birthday.
So do you maintain this?
I don't do the work myself, no. Despite the lifts being spec'd to be strong enough to lift it,
Yeah.
I don't. It's so unfathomably complicated. For example, the front wheel's got 2 brake calipers on. Because the wheels weren't very big, to get the braking power, they've got 2 calipers, one on either side, to get the stopping power to actually make it stop.
Yeah. Goodness.
So it's fiendishly complicated. And the springs sit in the car about this long, but uncompressed, they're about this long. They're huge, great big. They're like truck springs. They're super dangerous to work on yourself if you don't know what you're doing. So luckily I have a very nice guy up in Nottingham who, if you don't mind me saying, Starman's, it's a chap that looks after this and a Rolls Royce we've got. Yeah. And he does a fabulous job. Although, as you probably see, it doesn't matter how much money or time you spend on them, something always goes wrong. It's been here 4 weeks since it was last out, and it appears to have a puddle of I don't know what underneath it. Yeah, down there. Right under the money shot where it says Turbo R, it's leaking something, so that'll need investigating before it goes out next.
This looks mint. The colour's really beautiful.
It's a lovely comically.
So this car is with you for life.
This is a keeper.
This is an heirloom car, right?
This is sort of my dad personified.
Is it?
Yeah. He, as a proud Yorkshireman, he liked to, and a business owner, he liked to be the man about town.
Yeah.
He always was. Hence having an E-Type when he was younger, before I came along.
Yeah.
So yeah, it very much personifies him.
Brilliant. I almost forgot that there's a car above
Yes.
Bentley.
The E30.
The bit I can see the cross-laced wheels. So this is one of your darling cars, right?
It is, yeah. So this was supposed to be my wedding car. We've been talking about the yellow Volvo, which was my wedding car.
Yeah.
It sort of was a stand-in because this was supposed to be restored. I got married in 2016.
Okay.
And this came back to me 3 months ago.
Okay.
So I sort of overshot slightly on the restoration.
This makes me feel so much better about my own projects.
In fact, my brother was the best man at my wedding, and it was part of his speech about the fact that it didn't make it. He wrote a "sorry I couldn't be there" letter from the car.
From the car,
and read it out. And everyone's like, "Who's this person that didn't make it to the wedding?" And then eventually turned over the piece of paper and he got a picture of the car.
But you've restored this. You've had the whole thing done.
Yeah. So it didn't really deserve restoring because it had been bodged so much by the previous owner. It had continuous head gasket failures.
Yeah.
And it turned out somebody had been using water instead of coolant, and all the channels had furred up, and it just would never stay cold. So we ended up having to completely rebuild the engine. So it had new pistons, new rings, new rods. The crank was ground. Everything rubber and sealing was replaced on it. The gearbox was rebuilt. The diff was rebuilt. There was a new fuel tank.
Oh my
we
God.
powder coated the back end, new fuel lines, new brake lines. It's basically a new car. It had sills, albeit I started this project about 15 years ago. Had a new front slam panel when I got it. I mean, I paid £500 for this car.
I was about to ask.
And I'm about many times. I'm about 100 times into it now than what I paid for it.
Are you?
Yeah.
So you can never sell this car?
Nope.
Okay.
It would be financially ruinous to sell it.
Yeah.
As it has been to restore it.
I've got a Chevrolet like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We all have one of those tucked away, so we don't tell people about
it. It was cheap to buy, but ultimately you could have bought a far better one.
There's a reason they're cheap to buy.
Yeah. But it's about the story.
Exactly. So yeah, the other side here. This is actually my wife's car. This is a Clio 172. Quite low mileage. She's the second owner of it. So I think it's done just under 60. I think it's 59,500 or something like that at the moment. It was mothballed for a few years. It does look quite clean now, but it was very algal about 2 weeks ago. Because much like the Volvo, it had been stored outside for a period of time and kind of got in this situation where we didn't have time to clean it and get it back on the road. It technically now needs a cam belt, even though it's only done 500 miles since its last cam belt. But it's been 4 or 5 years now, so it's due a cam belt again.
These are great.
Yeah,
these are great.
It is such a quick car, deceptively so.
So very cool. I can't hear rain anymore. I wonder if we should go back outside.
Should we see?
Yeah.
Come on, let's go. Try not to trip over all the detritus.
The weather's moody still, but this is the bit I've been really looking forward to. So Nielsen, British brand, British designer, made products from 1969. And I'm going to be using on this car snow foam to start to agitate all this gunge, which I don't think is that badly. No, it's not that bad. It's been softened up because we've had a quick rainstorm again. So I'll be using that. Then I'm going to shampoo it with some of the cherry shampoo. Once I've done the cherry shampoo, I'm probably going to go over it with quick detailer, that stuff. But what I might also use, wheel cleaner, definitely. And I've also got some other general cleaner to just agitate any areas where it's a little bit tight. Then I've got a couple of brushes to do all these gutters and all around the door shuts. And hopefully it will look a lot more yellow than it currently looks. I'll also inspire John a little bit, I think, to realise how good this car is. I think it's a lot better than we first realised. Nielsen have a special discount code for you guys, the Late Break Show. It's on the screen now. You get 35% discount on all their products. Use it now. Go to the website, which is in the description. Go into the description and have a look. Thank you. Well, John, engine bay has been ice blasted. Didn't it come up nice?
It looks amazing.
The car's on the button, which is fantastic, even on old fuel. I'm relieved and
Very old fuel.
and happy. We've given it a couple of passes of not just snow foam to agitate all that dirt and algae, but also we've used some of the shampoo. We've given it a nice scrub a couple of times. There's some watermarks which I'm hoping to get out with the quick detailer, but we're losing light. So I thought I'd just bring it into the centre here to have a good look at it. And I think it's phenomenal.
It looks a completely different car. And I was scared to clean it in case it looked a lot worse. And it's almost like when it's dirty, you can't see how bad it is.
Yeah.
And it's Schrodinger's car. It's both dirty and clean at the same time. You know it's clean underneath, but if the dirt's there, it sort of hides it. But I'm really happy to see it's come up really nicely.
Oh man, this is lovely.
It's such a thing.
It was algal, now it's gull, which is the official colour
It's true.
of the car. I believe this yellow is called gull. And for an original paint yellow car, it's really good. It's really good.
I'm so excited to drive this again.
You might notice three things. One, it's dark. Two, the Volvo is indoors. We've made the executive decision that it goes indoors from tonight. And three, John's got a different hat on, which he found in the glove box and forgot that your friend from Australia knitted it
My
for
friend
you.
Janet from Australia knitted this for me years ago for when we did the yellow car convoy with the car way back when in Bybury.
Fantastic.
And yeah, I was like, I should wear that.
It's a great looking hat. I could do with it actually. With a day's worth of paint correction and some Nielsen polishing after a machining, I think this would be amazing. This car actually doesn't need as much as you think it might.
It's a bit of a diamond in the rough, and I genuinely thought it was a lot rougher than it actually is. I mean, under the engine bay looks fabulous.
It's lovely. This is an unusual barn find. I haven't got my tools out today. Normally by now I'm soaked in petrol and I'm exhausted. I'm actually over the moon with just doing a lightweight valet and enjoying it, driving under its own steam really happily.
Yeah, it seems to tick over lovely.
Round the yard and into the workshop here. So thanks to you, John. If you haven't already heard of his Automotive Tales YouTube channel, go and have a look at that. You can follow his automotive tales of his own cars, which are in here and there's some out there. Two, if you haven't already subscribed, I would love you to subscribe. I don't apparently ask you to do this often enough, and I should, so I'm asking you. And thanks ever so much if you are a Patreon subscriber and you support us through Patreon. You get access early to videos like this. And if you know of a car that is on a driveway, like John's T5R, in an actual barn, in a garage, in a hedge, that you think is interesting, it maybe has an interesting backstory, or it's exceptionally rare or low mileage or something like that, get in touch with us. There is an email address in the description. Send us some details, location, pictures, stuff like that, and a backstory, and we'll maybe come and film with you. Thank you.